Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning to Jew.
Da, 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 da. I don't know the rest of the words.
Good morning. Good morning to Jew.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to
Let's
Jew.
all drink coffee together. Morning. Good morning to
To
Jew.
Jews. Jew. And Jew and Jew and Jew and Jew. Hey, 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 hey.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm all in purple.
I love how in purple you are.
Mug. I didn't really plan it that way, but this was the mug that my sister gave me
Oh
from.
my god, totally the best aunt ever.
Oh, I like I say aunt.
I usually say aunt, but yeah, aunt. Well, it's like aunt. The
Oh,
aunt.
I do not have children of my own, but my little nephew Noah, who is like the cutest thing in the world. I am totally biased, yes. Yeah, he gave me this mug. I know he's only a year and a half, but
He's
it was
got good taste. Good taste in color theory.
yeah, it's good.
Amazing.
Oh, we probably should already introduce our guest that's coming on,
Yes,
and you take it away.
I will. So we are going to be talking with a. We're friends. Like we don't know each other very well, but we went to high school together, and we both went to. I don't know if she graduated from there. I actually want to ask about that. But I went to a private Jewish high school by the name of King David High School, and I chose to go there.
Hmm.
Worst decision ever. But I chose to go there for a year, and I actually went on the precipice because a good friend of mine who was Jewish was there, and so I thought, maybe I'll connect with other people and have a good experience. And though
Yeah.
academically it was actually the strongest year where I made not honor roll or not like whatever but I made honorable mention,
Wow.
which was great. So I actually made honorable mention, and then it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is that one of my classmates, Shayna Coumont, was someone that I always really loved, and that she, in a very different way from me, was kind of a bit of a misfit and did everything in a way that people didn't really see. In my opinion, this is my perception. We can ask her. People didn't take her seriously or see her in a way where she was really um, gonna be something that people would
Hmm.
really think about, right? Like if you looked in the yearbook and be like, oh, most likely to do blank. I'm curious what people would say. And what I'm really proud of Shayna for is that Shayna is vibrant, bubbly, wholehearted, genuine, just such an incredible human being. And so she is someone that is now an established one of the top 20 makeup artists in Vancouver,
Wow.
and is the creator of her own freelance business, Voila, like French Voila Lounge, Voila Lounge. That's her Instagram handle. So give her a follow. And she also has a lot of experience in different areas of aesthetics and cosmetics and things like that. And so one of the things she does love to do that I see on her Instagram is lash artistry.
Hmm.
So we'll talk a little bit about lashes. We'll talk a lot about the different forms of makeup and the makeup industry itself, and also how she embarked on that journey from when she and I kind of lost our connection after high school.
Right. Does she do makeup and film? I wonder if
It wouldn't surprise me.
as I don't know if everyone knows this who is not Canadian or specifically not from British Columbia, but Vancouver is known as Hollywood North.
I think she's definitely done fashion and beauty and wedding. I know that for
Hmm.
sure. So we can ask her about that. And that's kind of one of the things I like about some of the guests that both of us bring on, is that we know of these people either personally from parts of our life, and then we see what they're up to, but we don't always keep in touch with them. And so the podcast has been a kind of interesting platform to kind of actually reconnect with these people even after we interview them, like to actually see them in person or rekindle these friendships, and then to see how they've really built their own path.
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
so I have nothing but positive and incredible memories about Shayna. Lots of memories that I remember just thinking, this person is such a ray of light. And I feel like the two of us, because we live close to each other in downtown Vancouver, we've been trying to connect actually in person in 2020 we tried to, and we just never could link up. But anyway, she's
seems-
really amazing.
That's awesome. That seems like the quote of 2020. Could not, just couldn't do it. There's so many people. I mean, and there's so many wonderful people that have been on the podcast whom we've never met in person. Actually, I'd say the majority, the majority of people we've never met in person. That's why it's been interesting to embark on a podcast journey such as this. Whereas people that had podcasts previous, they were able to, be in a studio or be with their co-host or, actually meet these people, face to face and have them in. So, it'll be interesting, when Hiiro and I can actually do some of that potentially in the future. Mm-hmm. And just to see what the conversations, like how different maybe the conversations end up being.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so for sure. It'll definitely make a difference in the impact of how all those things connect, and I think it'll be really neat to see how that develops.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, Shayna, I'm very much looking forward to virtually meeting her.
Yes. She is honestly one of the most gorgeous, like she literally is a Shayna Punim, like not to be stereotypical in Hebrew, but like beautiful face. She is so beautiful.
So that's something that I don't think I even knew. So Shayna actually means beautiful.
To my knowledge, it means beautiful.
Means?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking that up actually.
Beautiful or precious.
Precious, yeah. Do you know what I know you changed your name, but do you know what your birth name meant or means?
I think my birth name translates, one of the meanings is warrior, which is actually quite powerful. Yeah, warrior, which is really powerful.
And you're totally right. So Shayna does mean beautiful or lovely.
Lovely, yes. Yes.
Yiddish origin. My name means something like a sheep.
Really?
Something like that.
Like Rachel means sheep?
Yeah, Rachel. The name Rachel is a girl's name of Hebrew origin meaning you, like EWU.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Nothing super, super exciting there. Although in the Old Testament, because Rachel was actually Jacob's favorite wife. Yes, he did have a couple of wives.
Yeah, I know that playa.
And what's interesting, his couple wives were the names of my two given names.
Oh, really?
Rachel, Leah.
That's true. Yeah. Right. Yes.
Yeah. So,
Oh, it's too funny.
I know.
I'm just messaging Shayna saying, "Are you coming?" Because I texted her last night and said, "Hey, like so excited to talk to you and to connect with you." And she said, "So is this a FaceTime thing? Is this this or that?" And so I said, "Well, no, like Rachel sent you a Zoom information. So just when in the email, the link to the meeting is in your email." So
you never get the email?
No, she got it. Because she's like, "Oh yeah, that's right." So I just texted her just to say, "Are you
she's
coming?"
a busy woman.
Yeah, she's busy. She just said yes. She says yes. I'm coming. So she'll be on any moment.
She's a busy lady. Sometimes with these emails, though, you never know if they go to junk or not. Those kinds of things. So
maybe I guess. But also, if it's Zoom. Well, unless the people get spammed on Zoom, maybe. If Zoom is like, join the Zoom room, join this contest.
No, but it's an email from our email address. It's not from Zoom.
No, you're right. It's coming, because it's linked to the email.
Anyway, very, very riveting conversation.
Very riveting as well. Just improvising the hell out of everything. It's funny. She says, trying to find the email. I'll just say search.
Oh my God.
It's funny. Just search it's from Getting Juicy, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Juicy@gmail.com. I love that. And again, this is what's also kind of funny is that like when you have like your personal connections and your friends and stuff, it's still casual, but it's even more casual because like, oh yeah, just find this. It's not as if we have someone that we've never met that lives in another.
Like I did send that email and all the information was in there.
There she is.
Hello.
Shayna.
Handsome. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Sorry, I'm just gonna put my phone on the tripod I have.
Yes, of course.
How are you? How are you?
So good. I knew you were gorgeous my entire life I've known you, but my God, have you grown up, girl?
Oh, you're so so sweet. Oh, you're so sweet. Stop it.
No, I won't stop it. We were just we. Oh my God, I love the light fixtures and everything too. Look
Oh,
at
thank
that.
you. I'm like struggling to grab my phone out of my phone case. It's okay. I'll just leave it on.
That is so funny. I love it.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. All good. Hi, Rachel.
You're upside down, or you're
You're sideways.
Sideways? Okay, this way. Here. Okay. This
There
is
you
such
go.
a struggle. Okay. Is this okay, you guys?
That's great.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's hilarious. No, that's perfect. You're framed beautifully. Your knit sweater looks gorgeous. Your necklace is on point.
Thank you.
Oh my God. How
And-
are you?
Good, thank you. And hi, Rachel. How are you?
good. It's nice to virtually meet you. We were just saying before you hopped on that, and we are recording right away because that's our shtick. We kind of do it right when you get on. So just FYI.
Oh, okay, great. I hope that kerfuffle is like at least funny.
Oh yeah, it's real.
Okay.
We're all about the real, the vulnerable. I mean, the amount of people that have seen IG, that have been doing IG lives that are like, oh my God, cut out. And then I froze. And then
Yeah.
like people that are really famous too, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, we were just talking about how our podcast platform, like we started this during the pandemic. So it's not like Hiiro and I have never been in the same room together. We've done all of this by Zoom because I'm in Vernon, BC, and and then all of our guests. So it's just like, it's been interesting, like how, a lot of other people that have had podcasts prior to, they've been used to actually like, having someone be there in person. So
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, this is the new normal for now, but I feel like all of this will be over soon. I've already had like 4 or 5 clients that have had the vaccine, which is really exciting. And everyone that they know, because they work in healthcare, right? So they've like, everyone that they work with has already had it too. So we're on our way. Then they're like, once we get through this, like it's going to be gone so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can all do this one day in person.
Oh my God, I would love to do that in person. Absolutely. At least you and I can be like in the same space, even if Rachel's in Vernon. So that way it can be, or vice versa. Rachel, you could have a guest in Vernon, I could be here, but definitely. But so Shayna, I was just kind of gushing about you from how you and I first met, which is long enough ago that it was quite we were still kids, basically.
We were kids.
And I was saying that you and I never really got a chance to know each other well, but I feel that we always understood and saw another as in a positive way, like as the alternative kind of misfits that were kind of written off, not really seen in a way that we were taken seriously or with credibility. It was absolutely dreadful. And so I don't want to bring up or trigger anything in any way at all. This is your comfort level by all means.
No, I'm happy to speak. And I love telling people what I think. So there's no problem in that.
Okay, good. There's nothing off the table here. You can, and again, you have a brand. So like if you don't want to swear, you don't have to swear, but like literally say whatever the fuck you want.
Whatever the fuck I want.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I kind of was saying to Rachel and whoever ends up listening to this episode when we put it out, that you and I met in high school.
Yeah.
We were in the same grade.
That we can remember because actually we have a photo of each other from our baseball team. We played on the same baseball team.
Right.
When we were 6 years old with Jordana.
Yes, that's right. T-ball. And Jordana is my best friend.
When we were 5.
Yes, I remember. I was just going to say, wait a second. There was a T-ball reference too at Dunbar Park. Yeah, near the Dunbar Community Center. Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
Baseball.
But like we didn't really remember this, and it came to us later in high school. Like, wait, oh yeah, that's right. We were part of the same a long time ago.
Yes.
But like it's such a vague memory. But like, we reunited and like got to know each other kind of in high school again. Yeah.
Yes, a little bit. And also because I have to mention the T-ball thing. It's just funny. I think, there was a girl named Sam Feldman who is an absolute angel. Like she is one of like the divine lights.
I've seen her recently.
Okay. We need to talk about that off camera. Okay. But anyway, so I remember because we connected a little bit through the yoga community. She was a member at
He's lovely.
And so I remember I used to be called the Kissy Boy.
Yeah.
And I literally, at 5 years old, would run around when we weren't on the field. I would chase after Sam specifically, I think, and try to kiss her.
Oh, I bet she secretly loved it.
I think she secretly loved it, and now look what she's got. She's got a flaming unicorn. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was definitely. It's funny. So that is one funny little memory that I just remembered. But I want to turn it over to you to introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can kind of go back in time. But who are you? What are you doing now? What do you want our viewers to initially know about who Shayna is?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So my name is Shayna. I own Voila Lounge, which is a hair and makeup studio. And also I do lash lifts, Yumi lash lifts in particular, which is the safest brand of lash lifts, and as well as brow lamination, which is a new thing that I'm freaking obsessed with, which is the best thing ever. And we do makeup, hair, lashes. We do it for weddings, maintenance with the lashes, events, headshots. I do a lot of photography as well. Just anything you want. A night out with your girlfriend. I've been doing that. Zoom meetings. I've been doing makeup for people with Zoom meetings or Zoom birthday parties actually recently. So it's even translated to that. Yeah, it's really cool.
I was going to ask you how your business is translated because of,
Yeah. Well, when we initially shut down in quarantine mid-March, I was really, really busy up until then. And which I think people knew things are shutting down. Let's make sure I got my maintenance on. Then immediately I'm like, okay, shit's going to get real. Let's see what I can do. I started selling products at that point. Let me grab my INV. It is
oh, I've heard of that.
Yes, it's a lash growth serum. So I started selling this as well as nourishing serums for the lash lifts. This is freaking amazing. I had one spot in one of my lashes that was just shorter than the rest of my lashes just naturally. I would just use it on that area alone. And then that area alone got longer than the rest. So I had to even it out. So It definitely works. So I was skeptical, but it's amazing. And I sell a lot of these now. I went from services to now products, which is great because I'm still selling the products as well as now able to do the services too. And what else? I was doing a lot of daily. Okay, so in terms of quarantine, what I would do to fill up my daily activities besides trying to figure this stuff out, I was doing online Zoom makeup lessons. Not Zoom. Well, yeah, Zoom. I was doing like personal makeup lessons, and I was doing most of the time was doing live makeup lessons on Instagram, IG lives. Yeah, and that was really fun. It was really, really fun. I was talking about my business as well, so it wasn't just like makeup lessons. I would do like one day would be like, okay, here I'm going to talk about, my favorite tanning lotion or how I got started in this and things like that. So it was really fun. I do feel a bit of a disconnect from that time though. Like I wish I was doing more IG lives and things like that because there's weeks now where it's like busy, but I do have a bit more time, relatively speaking, prior to COVID. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
People are still like, if you did have the time to do even a short IG live, I think lots of people are still watching. Yeah, no, totally. So I would like to get back to doing that as well because I just found it so much fun. I just found it, and it like gave me some schedule. Like I would write out each day what I was going to do. So it was a lot of fun. And I've connected with so many more people just by doing that. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, for you, because I know as a makeup artist, were you in the film industry at all in Vancouver? Like that was something that I was curious about, or what were you doing makeup for before?
Yeah, sure. So my biggest thing was doing when I first started. So I started this when I was 20. So, and I'm 28 now. So 8 years ago, I got in with a few established photographers in Vancouver that did a lot of headshots, and headshots are huge in Vancouver. Yeah, because there's a ton of actors, ton of acting schools. A headshot is a resume, right? Also, not just actors, anyone, a lot of corporate portraits, photos for your LinkedIn, for like lawyers, realtors, etc. So
Yeah.
a lot of those. I never went into film. I just know me and the hours when it comes to the film industry. Just I don't know if I could do that. Although I'm sure it's a magical thing when it's such a big project and all the people get involved and it turns into something. I'm sure it's great, but I haven't done that.
Yeah, those would be very long hours.
Yeah. And then once I got my network, I grew, and it's honestly word of mouth is the best thing ever. So I got a lot of referrals for weddings. In 2016, I got listed as top 20 makeup artists on Narcity magazine. And I think that was just the person found me, I think, strictly through my Instagram. I would hashtag Vancouver makeup artists all the time. So they found me there, and I think that mine just popped up, and they listed me, and it was great. I got so many referrals, and I did work really, really, really hard on my Instagram at that time. So it paid off, and that got me a bunch of weddings, and then again, word of mouth. So I was doing that, events, grads, such a sweet time of year. I love that.
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned hashtags, because we were chatting about, how to get noticed on Instagram with hashtags. Yeah. And then just like, we'll have a conversation here, and I were like, how did this guy find our page? And now he's liking us, and he has thousands of followers, and, he's got an awesome message that he's portraying. And I was just saying, like, it's probably from one of the hashtags, and how they're, it's not just about what you do with your passion, but like how are you infiltrating that into your marketing? And I mean, that's a whole, like you said, you would do IG lives and you would talk about makeup, but you also talk about how to run your business, how I started it. Yeah. So when I was post, especially even to this day, in the beginning, I wasn't just posting hashtag Vancouver makeup artist. I was hashtagging Vancouver photographer, hashtag Vancouver wedding planner, hashtag Vancouver model, whatever. Like people that would also compliment me. So those people that like might need a makeup artist as well would see it if they looked up, things that had to do with them. So, I mean, it wasn't just about me, it was another way to reach out to other networks that compliment you. Yes. And also, I mean, Vancouver this is what I say to people. Vancouver is the size. It's, when I first started, people would be like, oh, when are you moving to Toronto? Because so many freelance makeup artists move to Toronto because there's it's just, you get a lot of work there. Apparently they kill it over there. Vancouver's a lot smaller, but the thing is about the size of Vancouver, I actually have seen it as a really good thing, because as long as you're good at what you do and you work really hard to put yourself out there, there's nothing holding you back from making a name for yourself eventually. That's what it will turn into. And it would mean something different to make a name for yourself if you were in a place like Toronto or LA or New York, where population is just so massive. So, I mean, there's photographers and, people that I looked up to for like 5 years. And I'm like, oh my God, I've sent them emails, and they're like, well, I've been working for like 15 plus years. I don't want to work with someone who has like less than 5 years experience. And I got to that 5-year mark, and everything started happening. Yeah. So there's a list of, people that I wanted to work with that I made when I was like 21, and I've accomplished all of them. It's been really cool.
Amazing, though. And you make a good point about the 5-year mark, because I don't know if Rachel can attest to this, but when you start doing something, your first year, you're really kind of just getting into it. You're brand new. Your second year, you have a sense of kind of what you're doing, but you're still figuring it out. Your third year, you're kind of in the swing of it. You got a sense of a name, a bit of a platform, a client base, let's say. People know of who you are. And then when you hit that 5-year mark, you're still new, but you're experienced and you've hopefully seen a lot. And people start to take you a little more seriously, because they see you haven't quit, you haven't failed, you haven't stopped doing what you're doing, and that they know you're in it for the long haul.
Well, especially, that's true. Just to chime in for a second, because I had a very small, I'm like downplaying it. I had a small yoga studio in North Vancouver for a few years, and I only owned it for a couple of years because just speaking of brick and mortar, like the first year, like you are gonna lose money. You know, you can't, there's no like shiny way around saying that it's going to take a couple years just to break even. Right. So you're right about that 5-year mark. Like you got to give it that time. Otherwise, you know, for me, it just broke me down mentally speaking. And it was a little too tough for my blood, especially when it came to brick and mortar. But yeah, that 5-year mark, like you gotta, and you can't expect an overnight success. I mean, that is such a rarity. And I think people expect that sometimes when it comes to social media nowadays, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is now, especially, sorry if I interrupted you.
Not at all.
The algorithm has changed so much and it's made it so much harder compared to when I started this. Like because I've had a business account for a while now. They've changed it. So business accounts, like the only way you can really get seen the way you used to be is if you pay for sponsored ads. They've really buckled down. It's not like a question of like who can put things out there, but really of who can be seen now because of how the algorithm really is. And they've made it so much harder. It used to be all just chronological order. Whoever you follow and whoever's posted the most recent, you'd see it in that order. Not no more. It is all just, you know, it's another way of capitalism, keeping the lower people low and the higher people high. And that's how it is. And, you know, I've heard from people, because I've talked to some people who specialize in this, sponsored ads, they work, but only about to the point where you spend about $700. For a lot of people starting a business in Vancouver, you got to put everything you have into it. Like a lot of people most people don't have $700 sitting around. Like that's just not real, you know? So, it takes time, but at the end of the day, I do always want to tell people word of mouth is the best thing. So yes, I mean, this can feel like a little bit defeating knowing the algorithm, but if like, you know, it's a new thing for you, but like there's still ways around it. Okay. You can still work really hard and get it yourself. And yeah, the more people you meet, the more people you know, is what draws you to business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you're right though, because word of mouth is the oldest form of communication. It's also the most authentic and it's the most memorable because there's an energetic exchange of actually investing into someone that you meet. And even if they never talk to you again, if they follow you in person in that moment, oh, here's my account, follow me, because Instagram accounts are the new business card, for example, then at least someone else sees that person followed you, then it can start a little trickle and then they can see this, you know, like there's so many things with the algorithms you just spoke about that Rachel and I are starting to understand just the complexities of building a digital brand, right? Like this, it's very, very consuming of time. And during a pandemic, it doesn't give as much opportunity to connect to people face to face in person.
And it's almost even harder because everyone's going online. Right. So businesses, you know, so competing for ad space is crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy, especially like over the Christmas holidays and those kinds of things. Like people whom, you know, would spend a certain amount of money on their advertisements like a year prior that do spend way upwards of 700, way more than that, like thousands and thousands of dollars a month, now had to spend even more money because there's that much more competition, especially with e-commerce. Yeah. Those kinds of businesses. Right. So yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy, mind-boggling. I want to know, Shayna, what drew you to what you do? So now we'll get a little bit more into like, you know, the Shayna maybe from the kid, and you are Jewish, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah. It's funny because some people will see our podcasting. You do not have to be Jewish to be on our show. We talk to but do you just happen to have guests that also are Jewish or Jewish or however you want to say it? So yeah, just tell us a little bit more about inspirations or how you came to do what you're doing.
Sure. So I've always loved makeup. It was always a hobby of mine. And in fact, I loved it so much. I mean, I felt pretty misunderstood when I was really little, like, you know, age of adolescence, because I loved it so much that people saw me wearing it. People saw that I was so drawn to it, wanting to play with it, blah, blah, blah. That I think people thought that I was trying to be inappropriate because there's this notion that young girls should not wear too much makeup. Keep them looking young. And the thing is, because I developed so young, it's an easy thing. Like when I do makeup for 16-year-old girls, I have to be so careful about making sure that they still look 16 and not 20, because it's easy to do that for, teenage girls. So anyways, people like, I feel like my parents and my teachers like hated me sometimes because I was just so drawn to it. But the fact is, like, there was no difference for me having this attraction to playing with these pigments than me playing with pigments that go on a piece of paper. I just enjoyed the process of doing it. I wasn't trying to be inappropriate. It was just, it wasn't the result. It was the process of that I really liked. So I always loved it. It was always a hobby of mine. I never thought I would end up being a professional makeup artist because, as you guys might relate to, I grew up in the Jewish community, and it's not just the Jewish. I'm sure so many cultures can relate. You're expected to be a doctor, lawyer, business executive, blah, blah, blah. And you don't go to McGill or UBC to learn how to be a makeup artist. You just don't. So, what happened was how I actually did end up going to makeup school, which was basically just a networking tool for me, because by that time, I was pretty much self-taught. My mom entered my name into a draw for a scholarship to the makeup school I ended up going to, and I won it. I was 20 years old at this time. I was 19, about to be 20. And I was studying psychology at Langara, going to SFU, about to go to SFU for that, because again, this is what I was taught to do. I was trying to figure out, I can do people, so I'll be a clinical counselor. I was studying psychology for that. And it's an academic again, which I felt expected to do. But my mom, on the other hand, was incredibly supportive. And I didn't really, it's weird because I felt what I'm talking about is more from society, not from my own mom. And she's very unique that way as a Jewish mother. But I think she just knew me so well that, she wanted to be sure that I would be good at what I was going to study or try and pursue. And the thing is, academics is so competitive, and, you gotta be. And the thing is, I'm a kinesthetic learner naturally. Yeah. I'm such a hands-on learner, and that's where I excel. I feel like I had to work a lot harder to get the same grades than a lot of the students around me. So I ended up going to makeup school. I won that scholarship. I didn't think much of it. And before I knew it, I signed a contract for a year-long course in makeup. And I learned not just beauty, I learned special effects as well. So that was fun. But beauty is what I was self-taught in. And so that's what I excelled in as well. And I ended up, my first gigs were like, a lot of the moms I used to babysit for, there was a posse of these moms that were all best friends in my building that I lived in, and I would babysit their kids, and they would all go out together. So eventually I ended up doing all their makeup together and then taking care of their kids. So I was like doing a makeup babysitting business. Yes. And I actually made a killing doing that too. That was awesome. For myself at the time at 19, I was like $500. Oh my God, I'm rich. That was really cool. Wow. Yeah. But eventually I reached out, and I used Instagram. I got Instagram midway through makeup school, and that was the beginning of it. Really, I really got on early, and I was leaving comments on. I would look up hashtag Vancouver photographer, hashtag Vancouver wedding planner, blah, blah, blah. These people, hashtag Vancouver model, and try and look at people with huge followings who seemed really popular. And this is even before DMs existed. You'd have to comment on people's, and I would comment, be like, hey, if you ever need a talented makeup artist, please let me know. I'm around, and hopefully, like in my mind, I'm like, hopefully, like I can get them to give me a kit fee, just to pay for the products, my makeup kit, so I can actually like afford to replace the one foundation that I'm about to run out of. So I don't have to get like a retail job at Sephora that pays $13 an hour that I'm paying like $20,000 for this course for. Like I would make more money wearing a low cut shirt serving as a waitress, you know?
Right.
I never ended up doing retail, even though makeup school really encourages you to, which I don't get, because again, there's another way of keeping the poor poor and the rich rich, because you make them take out these massive student loans and it's to just have a really shitty retail job. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I'm going on tangents here, but I can
we love tangents.
So that's how I got started, so there was this one of my makeup teachers. She was like, hey, there's a volunteer opportunity at a runway show tonight for a fundraiser. I did makeup that night, and I met a girl. Her name's Heidi Guai. You can still look her up. I've known her since the beginning, and I met her, and she got my contact info, that girl, and then we added each other on Facebook. A couple weeks later, she made a post being like, hey, I'm looking for people who can help with this collab. I ended up showing up there. I met several photographers there. Then I met a photographer. Anyways, it was like a series of only about 3 or 4 volunteer jobs that got me in with an established photographer. His name's Ian Red, owner of Vancouver Headshots. He's easy to look up. And a model that I met was like, can you do makeup for my headshots? I can afford $25 to pay you. And I was like, okay, I'll be there. And ever since then, that photographer has called me. I used to be his in-house makeup artist. I got too busy for him, and he'll let me know once in a while, like, oh, my makeup artist can't come this day. Can you come? So that was like my first shot. It was again just a matter of time. If you're really good, you put yourself out there, you will get called back eventually. Even if you like, I hate to encourage people to work for free, but like if it's something, you know, and you're just in the beginning. And also another thing is, to be fair, I was 20 years old. I lived at home still. I could afford to do things for free too. So I mean, it wasn't like I was opening up a storefront, you know, as an older not older, but like, you know, as a mature adult, and like was like, I need to live off this now. It was I started really young.
Well, for sure. And I can speak to that a little bit, because when I was starting to teach yoga, my first 9 months of teaching, which was over 200 hours of my time, was all volunteer, and I got the experience that I needed to realize what else am I missing to kind of even out my skill set. And then eventually the name of your brand, your teaching, your style gets out there, and people want to hire or interview, audition, or at least refer you. And that's also how I actually met Rachel, which we talked about in other episodes. So again, that's another example that had those intentions of putting it out there from your passion for something, your love for a craft you want to refine long term. It brings the word of mouth back together and the marketing from your services. And that's exactly an example of what you just described. And that's really powerful.
It's interesting though, because like, and Shayna, you're talking about, you know, you go through school and they're encouraging you to work retail first or get into these. Well, it's similar to being a yoga teacher, because I remember, I think maybe people still do this during training, but during training, they're like, okay, now we'll talk to you about the business of being a yoga teacher. Okay.
2 hours later.
Well, yeah. First of all, it was like the shortest portion of the whole thing. But what my point is that you spend like thousands of dollars, and they're like, yeah, so the first, I don't know how many hours or years, you're gonna have to work for free. You're gonna have to put yourself volunteer. It's all like karma, teaching karma yoga. Like, fuck, I'm sorry, but like, you live in an expensive city in Vancouver. You can't, like, if you want us to put all this money out in order to like spread the message and be yoga teachers and actually use this as like even a part-time career or a part-time job, I can't work for free. Like, it's just, I mean, I understand the sentiment behind it, and I understand like where it's come from, the lineage, and how, you know, yoga was not necessarily meant to be a monetary career path. That's not really, but that's just the way it's become, right? So it's interesting how, I just wanted to say, there's something, it's funny because we're talking to you and I'm someone who's like so the opposite from you. I hardly wear makeup. I've never been.
Don't worry.
I'm not worried, but this is actually something, this could be an interesting conversation to have. Like, I was just thinking to myself, I think, like, even in high school and my whole adult life, I always thought that being a woman, we're taught that being a woman is to look pretty, to wear makeup. And this, I'm just talking, like, this is a conversation we could have.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Talk. I want to hear. I want to listen.
And sometimes I do still feel like that, especially like looking at, Instagram and all these things. And I'm like, I'm not wearing enough makeup. I'm not, God, like I gotta get my eyebrows done. Like I don't do any of those things.
That's okay though. I have so much to say because honestly, I look at people who went through all those, like, I remember in makeup school, I first started noticing it. I was like, okay, the students that say that they never got their face wax, they've never wore makeup, like their skin still looks like they're 12. So what I usually say to people when they come to me and they're like, I never wear makeup, I don't know what to do. I'm like, girl, like you are doing, your skin will thank you later. And when I don't work, I don't wear makeup. I let my skin breathe. In my industry, like I feel so free when I don't have to wear makeup now. So, I mean, of course, it's been a passion that I I did have an innate love for because I liked the process of it. But honestly, your skin will thank you later. And I now more than ever appreciate having a fresh set of a face, without anything on it. There's no worse feeling than having to take it off at night and all you want to do is go to sleep, but you have to do this first and it feels like so much work. There's no worse feeling than waking up, accidentally falling asleep in this. Like things like that. It's the best feeling not wearing makeup, honestly, on a lot of levels too.
Mm-hmm. And I think what I was getting at more is like who told us in society that women, it's like, wear makeup because that's feminine and that's how, a woman should look or how a woman should be. Yes. And, still from like magazine culture with models like back like many, many years ago, I kind of still feel like it's still kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I guess sometimes I have I come up against a wall being like, yeah, maybe I could wear makeup, but I'm going to be like, not like an anarchist, like against, I kind of want to be against it because I don't want to fall into the habit of
conformity, right?
Exactly. Conforming into the feminine way of.
Yeah, girl, you do you. I mean, I would never say anything other than that. Whenever I do makeup on people who say they never wear makeup, I'm like, okay, let's make you feel like you, maybe just like slightly more refined, like if it's for headshots or something. But to carry on to your point, like I completely agree. It's kind of crazy. I feel like women just like are in this huge predicament because you can't, like you're in a catch-22. Like I was told you're wearing too much makeup, and you feel like you've been like, you're not wearing enough. Like, and there's like another thing of, in the, with weight, like, oh, she's too skinny. Oh no, now she's too fat. Like it kind of goes across, it's hard to be perfect. And I think there's a big expectation about being perfect. Mm-hmm. There's so many shoulds and shouldn'ts, especially for women, like, oh, just sit and look pretty, don't say anything about
right.
Yeah, just Absolutely. Be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's just like the, not just conformity, but what the conventional, like we just had someone on, Tim Bang was talking about what's the conventional gay look like? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And then he was like, people always thought of, I guess, I don't know, a white male with like, what did he say? That looks good with his shirt off and looks good. Right. And like,
yes. What
is a female, like in quotations, look like? And we're really into this whole idea now of what I love is that, like what you just said, Shayna, you do you, Everyone's got their thing. Like, I love that now, like non-binary, like everyone can just hopefully be themselves and do themselves. And if they want to be more feminine, awesome. If they don't, awesome. Like,
and also to further your point, also is neutrality and also unlearning, non-assuming, and we are all accountable for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Doing the work, or if you don't want to do the work, then just assume in the sense of that everyone is neutral. And if they're not neutral, then you apologize and then you ask to be educated.
Yes. Say, I don't know much about this. I would love it if you told me, though.
Help me understand to relate more effectively and on a more equal wavelength.
Yeah.
Yeah, humility, be a student. Like one example is that, I started a retail job 4 months ago when we started the podcast as well. And I'm also in a leadership position. And so having new people to bring in now and to be around them. And the first thing I'll say to them is, you have as much to teach me as much as I can pass down to you. And these individuals it's a retail job, right? So a lot of retail people start when they're out of high school or they're in early university, if that's their path, or they're just going into the workforce. And it's interesting to hear them say, what do I have to teach you? And I said, everything.
There you go.
I like that.
And and it just creates a landscape for people to realize that. And again, that's the yoga practice of you're always a student, you're a teacher, but you're a stronger student when you have the ability to be humble and receptive, and then to know that you might know some other things. But it doesn't mean you're more superior to that person. It just means that there are certain guidelines that maybe you might be responsible for, and that your counterpart is helping assist you with other things. But that doesn't mean that they're above or below you, though.
And I also love, actually, because Shayna was talking about, like, how growing up, you shouldn't be, you're wearing too much makeup and you're just a little girl and blah, blah, blah. But I like how you didn't actually say this, but what I was thinking is that you use it. This is your canvas too. It's art.
It's self-expression.
There's no difference.
Exactly. And I love looking at, because don't get me wrong, like I would love to get some awesome professional new headshots done. We love to go a little bit with makeup. Don't get me wrong, like there is a lift in the spirits or in confidence when we do, I guess, express maybe the best form of ourselves, what we think inside of ourselves to I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, I get it. I mean, I can, the most rewarding part of my job is seeing people's demeanor change once they get out of my chair. And they're like, whoa, I look different. Oh, I like looking different. But like, I still look like myself. What's happening? It's like because what I do is so subtle. I mean, this is a lot. I usually don't go this crazy. It's I think the most talented makeup artists are the ones that can do the most with the littlest amount. And that's been my thing, is like it's not just about looking good and with filters and with lighting and things like that. It's about also looking good, feeling good when you look in the mirror in person as well, because a lot of the makeup that we see right now is designed for lighting, and it's designed like bright lights, like filters, all those things.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just, you can do both. Like, you have the ability to make it look good for both situations.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are taught just right now, especially, just to design your face for, the filters.
You're right. And this is changing. I think this is changing a lot based on what we talked about. But I want to ask, and do you learn about this? And I mean, this may not relate just to MUA, but just the human genetics, but because of like hormones or chromosomes, like things like that on a molecular level, men, unless if they have maybe more estrogen in their body, they're naturally more effeminate in their complexion and things like that, or their bone structure. A so-called cisgendered male, our skin is usually a little bit more rougher, not as delicate, right? Like you know what I'm getting at? Like, is there something scientific about that might have inspired for more cisgendered, anatomically born women to then have the pressure societally, like, to wear makeup to preserve youth or to not look like they're aging? Like, I'm curious to know about
For this shit.
Yeah.
yeah, like, do they talk about that at all in school, or have you done any research in that way and the psychology behind that, the societal
That's a really
pressure?
good question. Okay, so I feel like maybe this is I'm like I'm beneath this question. I don't know. Okay, so it's just to understand your question. Are you talking about the skin tends to be different for cisgendered male? Like, is that an actual thing? I don't even know.
Well, I guess what I mean though is, like, if you were to take a so-called neutrally born male, neutrally born female, and they have so-called, like, what science portrays us to apparently be born like, and our skin develops.
Yeah.
I think, sorry to shake my head, but I think it depends on your ethnicity though too, Hiiro. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah. I'm not discrediting the ethnic part, but I'm just wondering, like, if someone has more of a male, like, I don't know, like, male chromosomes or whatever in their body, like, is that related to the firmness of our skin, or the way
I mean, yes, like, I mean, if
or-
you feel my forearm, it's probably softer than your forearm.
right?
I think a lot of it has to do with just your environment too, the way you self-care. Like, there's so many years that goes into skin of how much can be a lot of environmental insults, just your genetics in general. I think when it comes to like body skin, guys are lucky because they don't get much cellulite, if any.
Right. No, I don't
So I'm always like in awe when I see when I go to drag shows and I'm like, oh my God, your legs are so smooth. Like, I'm jealous.
Right. Right.
But I mean, it really depends on the person, like, individually. Gender could have a role in it. But it might also just depend on, it's just so many factors with skin. It's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, like, that's why I'm not the backpedal or anything like that, but that's why I'm saying it open-endedly, kind of as a loose train of thought. It's like, I wonder where the pressure of how women are, again, we talked about this a little bit already, but why females wearing makeup is a very early embedded thing about wanting to look pretty, or to at least shift our perspective of how we're perceived. And with males, it's more, not really, maybe for acne care, skincare, yes, but not in terms of the beautification of our appearance, right? Like, there's and our beards, like, this took forever to grow and I can't stand it. But my point is that, like, our beard as men is kind of our makeup. Like, you could have someone that doesn't give a crap about his skin and all those things, or how their appearance, but they usually will always care about their beard, whether if it's growing it out or if it's trimming it to shape and frame their face. Like, that's one cardinal thing that men really connect to, is their facial hair.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen guys with stubble that freaking like contour their face perfectly. I'm like, wow, you're getting it like right in the cheekbones, like only there. I'm like, and then right here too, it's like contouring your face perfectly.
Yes.
And then there's some guys that just don't ever grow a lot of facial hair. My boyfriend is like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, he'd be really jealous of you, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if he wants to take if he wants to take all my pubes off my face, he can more than happily. Because I honestly have never wanted to have body hair, and the moment I started growing hair on my body and on my face, I was not resentful, but I was like, oh, fuck. Thanks a lot.
Well, I think you look handsome, though.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I've grown to appreciate it. For sure.
But signature, Hiiro, like the stubble, and I like it. And no, it's good. This is purely a selfish question for myself.
That's okay.
Skincare. So for women like myself who are, I'm not in the menopausal age bracket, Hiiro, because we were talking. He tends to bring up.
Why would you even imply that? That is so rude, Hiiro.
It's so rude because every time I talk about like sweating, he's like, "Oh, is it a hot flash?" I'm like, "Fuck off!" Like
That's because we've had mothers that have gone through it. That's the only reference we know.
Thank you.
I know, but I like jabbing him with that. What is your favorite foundation or something for
Sure.
own, and specifically? So for mine's really hormonal, and what is something that you can recommend? That's okay. You've got something already.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a local paraben-free, cruelty-free company. It's called Sappho, Sappho. They are amazing. I've never had a foundation that I didn't break out in because I've got oily combination skin. I've had cystic acne, grade 4 cystic acne, which is the worst grade that you could ever have. I've had that, and like it was the worst thing I've ever experienced, and it's all gone ever since I started using this foundation, which is crazy because it's usually like skincare. But I used to use MAC foundation, so if you're prone to, don't use MAC foundation. Use their concealer. The concealer is okay, but not their foundation.
So
yeah.
PHO?
Double P's. Sappho.
Thank you.
Cosmetics. Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome. Amazing.
That's so great. Rachel,
Yeah.
this is why we need to have such incredible people on our show, and Shayna is no exception to that. What I want
Actually, sorry, hold on. Rachel, go onto my Instagram. I can give it to you. I have a link in my bio for like a list of like your skin type too, like skin tones, because we have a similar skin tone coloring, I think. That would be good. Yeah.
Oh my God, perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
Is it the Jews in us? Look, I don't know why I'm doing this.
We can all do it.
But Shayna, first of all, thank you for assisting Rachel with that.
Yes.
What I wanted to touch on also is kind of pulling it back, because I don't know how we've already come up to an hour, which is always a great sign of a conversation that's just naturally real, you know? But I wanted to know a little bit more about your journey through, I mean, it could even be as early as preschool, kindergarten, elementary, high school. Like, talk a little bit about that. And it doesn't have to be from the makeup perspective, but about who you are and how you evolved from that to become who you are now.
That's such a huge question. I went to, we may have went to the same preschool. I went to the JCC. What do I do before I'm 2 with Jordana?
Yeah.
That's her and I were inseparable.
Oh my God, we were in the same grade. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Hiiro's cousin and I were in the same class and inseparable, like even for years after that. And then I went to Shaughnessy Elementary, and I was there up until I was in grade 4, at the end of grade 4. Then I moved to Langley with my dad, and I finished elementary school there. This is the not Jewish side. And then halfway through grade 7, I ended up going back to Vancouver with my mom, and I finished my grade 7 at Emily Carr Elementary, and which was the same school that she graduated grade 7 from, which was cute because our grade 7 photos are like directly across from each other on the hall, which is pretty cute.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cute. And then went to King David, a Jewish private school in Vancouver on 41st and Oak, so between Oak and Cambie. Yeah, and that was interesting. I decided to go there. That was my decision because I had actually, I moved a few times, like a couple small times more in the year of grade 7. It was a difficult year, and just traveling between parents and moving houses and things like that. I ended up going to 3 different schools in that year. And I know and it was all local. So I know what it's like to make friends here, and having to do that, especially in the worst year, like how awkward of an age could you be at 12 to have to do that. And so, I mean, making friends in Vancouver is really hard. So, and I feel like you need to know someone for 7 to 10 years until you're invited over to their house. And I feel like I'm different in that way because I went through that. I decided after that experience to go to King David because I was like, at least I know some kids at King David because I went to this Jewish summer camp. Some kids I knew there. The preschool I knew kids from there. Like I did grow up here, like bits and pieces throughout the Jewish community. So I'm like, okay, it's small. I'll get to know people, and I know some people already, and I'm never going to move schools ever again. So I ended up going there for all 5 years, and there was a lot of ups and downs. Grade 8, I think I was good. It was like, relatively speaking, I was the new kid, and I did my best to make friends, and it was new. I was like excited, and it was a fresh start. I was eager to learn. And grade 9 was a bit different because, I saw some other students, like I kept hearing kids say, oh, like school doesn't matter until grade 12. Like that's the only thing that matters for university. Mm-hmm. And, school it hasn't always been easy for me, like academic learning. I'm very much of a hands-on learner, and I've always like had a hard time with math and things like that. Things that most students could get tutors for. However, I did come at this point, I was coming from a single mother. I did grow up in Shaughnessy, but my parents split. And at that point, she went from having a lawyer husband to just working as a court clerk herself. So I went from living in Carysdale to East Van. So it was very, very different. Though you wouldn't know because I'm going to private school and I'm Jewish. Yeah. So it was easier. Eventually I got to the point where it was just easier to I was trying to convince myself that I didn't care, about school, because I thought it would be easier than trying to care, even though I couldn't get like the support I probably could. I was an incredibly underfunded version of myself today, is what I really have to say about that. So, I mean, I gained so much weight by 17. I was 180 pounds and I'm only 5'4" and very petite. I'm now about 130 pounds. But by grade 11, it just got worse and worse and worse. By grade 11, I had 90 absences that year alone. There was a full month where I just didn't show up whatsoever. I was like, people are like, did she die? What's wrong? And I just couldn't get myself out of bed. It was really crazy. And then at the end of that year, my vice principal said to me, if you continue doing this, you can't come here anymore. And I didn't know what school I was going to go to because like I was living downtown. I'm like, I don't want to move schools again. That was my plan. Like, I just don't want to. Anyways, so I ended up having to lift my socks up, and I did. That summer before grade 12, I went to summer school. I did the classes that I needed to catch up on, and I got a bike I probably paid too much for it at $50. It didn't even have any gears, but I went every day around the seawall. And it was like, someone was like, you shouldn't ride that. Like, you can't go more than 20 kilometers on it. The brakes like don't even work, but I did anyways. And then I did that every day, and I lost probably about like 20 or 30 pounds by the time school started in September for grade 12, though no one could really tell because it's already so big. Like, it's a lot more obvious when you're a bit smaller. So it wasn't until, and my grades improved. Like, I put my head in the books. I actually studied, and I realized that I was working harder not to work than actually working, and I didn't gain all that weight. I have to say, I didn't gain all that weight because, I gained all that weight because I wasn't happy. I wasn't unhappy because of the weight. Like, there was a progressive thing there. Anyways, yeah, by January of grade 12, I lost about like 40 pounds. Then people were like, oh, you lost so much weight. You're half of you. Like, I lost another 20 pounds by graduation. I went from 180 to 120 that year. And I had grades to get into, the fact that I like freaking actually, I went from like failing everything to, actually getting through it and getting grades to get into schools. Like, it was pretty wild. Yeah. So I finished I think I made a good comeback right before the end of grade 12.
No kidding, man. That is
Yeah.
huge. And of
And
course,
everything kept getting better after graduation too. So it was all good.
Do you know how rare that is? Like for some, no, at that age, like, I don't know, what, did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody, or did you just, was it purely like,
I had to. I mean, it's a blessing that I'm not a picky eater, because I went from like dousing everything in mayonnaise and cheese to eating, 0% fat Greek yogurt, or like drinking homo milk to skim, or like almond milk, I'm fine with it. And I went from dipping everything, again, mayonnaise, like I ended up using mustard instead. And I'm like, okay, I learned that I couldn't even eat table pepper, like black pepper, before grade 12, but I read that eating spicy food makes you eat less, so I started with mustard, and then I went to hot sauce, and now I can't not eat anything with hot sauce. So I mean, there was things that helped me, but I think just like and also the fact that I was 17, I mean, you just got to like, and you're a healthy 17-year-old, all you got to do is just eat healthy and like exercise like a normal person, and you'll be fine. And the weight melted off. It really did. I was gorging myself with food, and I always had stomach problems, which also led to me not being able to go to school, because I was like hunching over, holding my stomach, so it was self-taught. So yeah, I always say, like, if you guys are looking for healthy food alternatives, go to the former fat kid, because I got them for you.
Well, yeah, and a lot of
and Josh, you can. Sorry, Hiro, you can attest to that too, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, and I love that you just slipped that out, and that's fine. Don't feel bad about it. It's funny.
Yeah.
If whoever's listening clearly, we're like, oh, but no, like when I was a fat kid too. I was 5'2" before I shot up, and I was 180, and then when Zach passed away, I got my life handed to me and realized, oh wow, I need to really take care of myself. And that's when my transformation happened. The difference though is that when I came into King David, I lost the weight already, because I had been doing that for about a year and a half, but everybody knew who I was because of my cousin, because of my best friend to this day, who I am so grateful for, and that's Jordana. And and then also, though I'm not the closest with my cousins, I'm not like, we're still obviously in touch frequently. They knew of me from them because of all of the association from Camp Atikva and Camp Miriam and stuff. So when I came in, automatically, when I was like, oh, a fresh start, and I, again, like you, I chose to go to King David. And I kind of joke and say, I guess the worst choice I've ever made, but at the same time, no, because it informed so much of my life that followed after. So I actually got to say things happen for a reason. And some of the greatest teachers and influencers from that school when we were there, I'm still in touch with today.
Really?
I'm still in touch with Malcolm Crystal, who was our science teacher.
wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
On Instagram, yeah. And he even saw me walking down Hastings, and when he was driving with his wife, and he was like, Hiro! Malcolm!
Oh.
Right? So he's kept in touch with me. I've kept in touch. Actually, I just connected with our art teacher, Wendy Oberlander. She saw the Challah Prince episode, which Ida Chabasav, and so she saw me, and she's like, oh my God, like he's doing well, So, yeah, exactly. And then even someone came into my other job, and they work in different places, but apparently on their LinkedIn, they are they are a volunteer vice president for King David right now, which is really interesting. So I was like, that's fascinating.
Oh my gosh.
So these connections really make such a difference, right?
Yeah.
And so I can relate to you. Like when I came in, it was like, oh, you're the gay cousin of so-and-so that lost a brother, and this and this and this and that. And so the moment I came in, I was like automatically pinned as the kid that didn't really have a chance to establish himself at all. It was already, the writing was already on the wall for me. And then I became totally screwed up because of it. And then that's why I also fell into my mental health and my depression with my other personal stuff, because I felt like I didn't have a chance and no one took me seriously.
Right.
Right. And so, not to pin it as you and I, because we had our own stories and journeys, but it was interesting because when you and I met back in high school, I always wanted to connect with you. I always wanted to hang out with you. And I felt horrible because I was like, we're just trying to figure our own selves out. So let alone trying to establish those things. And then because it was so genderedized in our grade, and there was such a clique of every male, every female. It just made it even more challenging. So thank you for that, and I'm glad that you and I can connect, and we can connect together. It really
too.
means a lot that we can know that you are doing well. You are a success story, and not in like a like, you know, but like in a triumphant way, right? And the fact that you're established yourself in your beauty, in your industry, in your womanhood, really, like, I mean, it's quite phenomenal. So I just got to gush a little bit about you and say thank you for seeing me the entire time, but also for us seeing each other, and through social media, staying in touch and knowing that we can actually go for coffee, that we can actually go for a walk. We live really close to each other.
And thank you for sharing the story, your transition through high school, because that was, I think that's a very pivotal, it sounds like it's a very pivotal moment for you. And I think it's very inspirational. So I really thank you for sharing that part. So yeah, so I guess as we start to wrap it up, because I still can't believe what time it is either. Shayna, what would you like to share with our audience? Anything, things you're working on now, how people can find you, anything you want to plug?
Well, thank you so much. That's a good idea. Yeah. My name is Shayna Coumont, and I own Voila Lounge, and you can find me on my Instagram at Voila Lounge. That is VOILA Lounge. Some people get that mixed up. My number is 778-840-1902. All that info is on my Instagram. It's all there. Give it a follow and DM me, and I'm always there for you, even if you just want to talk. And I do makeup, hair, and lash lifts. You need lash lifts and brow laminations, and I'm your one-stop shop.
Awesome.
And always believe in yourself.
Yes. Preach.
Absolutely. Well, Hiiro, do you want to ask the final question?
Yes, we love to ask these little kind of fun, get to know you questions. And so we always love to ask our guests, if you were a kind of juice, as we are getting juicy, what kind of juice would you be, and why?
Why?
I think I would be like a Caesar, because then you can make it really spicy. And I think I'm quite spicy. I like spice.
And always with the bacon, right?
What?
And always with the bacon, right?
It's kosher if it's crispy, right?
Yes. Well said.
Well said.
Thank you so much. I can't wait for us to connect in person in the near future. And thank you for your time today and bringing your light to our podcast.
Yes.
My pleasure. My pleasure, y'all.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. And we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Okay. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Okay. Thank
Bye
you,
to both of you. Thank you.
Bye.